Welcome to the Light Power Podcast episode. I don't know the number of the episode. This episode we're going to be discussing understanding the systems of life. So welcome aboard. This is a little bit of behind the scenes because we still cooking up the sauce and whipping it up, you know what I'm saying? So just get on board. Let's go. You are now listening to the Light Power Podcast. In today's podcast episode, we're going to be discussing understanding the systems of life. You know the system we exist in. You already know the system. But more so, the systems that we exist in. The systems inside of us. And how these things all play a part in our development. But before that, we're actually going to have a word from one of our sponsors, TEDx Genius. So let's do it.
Mindset for me is everything. And one of my missions is changing the mindset of humanity. Changing the mindset of humanity. The world is extraordinary. The world is getting better. The world is something that we can make a difference in. Mindset for me is everything. And one of my missions is changing the mindset of humanity. Changing the mindset of humanity. The world is extraordinary. The world is getting better. The world is something that we can make a difference in. So when I talk about the world getting better and creating a world of abundance, everybody says to me, "What, are you crazy? I mean, haven't you been seeing the economic, downfall in Europe? Haven't you heard about the terrorists? Haven't you heard about this, that, and the other thing?" And I'm going, guys, listen, we're living in a world where the media is a drug pusher, and negative news is their drug. On every second of every day, on your iPad, your iPhone, your television, your radio, on every single device you have, you're having negative news pushed to you in a non-stop fashion. And you have to remember that. But the fact of the matter is, the world is getting extraordinarily better at an extraordinary rate. For the last 100 years, the human lifespan has more than doubled. The cost of energy, food has come down 13-fold, energy 20-fold, the cost of communications 100-fold and 1,000-fold. Literally, we are living in the most peaceful time ever. And these are the facts of the last 100 years. And the forces that created that are only accelerating. So we have the potential to live into an extraordinary world of abundance. Mindset for me is everything. And one of my missions is changing the mindset of humanity. The world is extraordinary. The world is getting better. The world is something that we can make a difference in. Mindset for me is everything. And one of my missions is changing the mindset of humanity. The world is extraordinary. The world is getting better. The world is something that we can make a difference in. Kids and adults to have a set of facts that are counter to what the drug-pushing media is constantly feeding us. And you know why they feed us that, right? The brain is structured to pay far more attention to negative news than positive news. And we use that for marketing techniques. When you say to someone a piece of negative news, they go, "What? What was that?" And they pay attention and they focus because that's the way our brain is structured. But there's a downside of that. And the downside is that we become pessimistic. And facts and knowledge is the mechanism to counter that. Because how you think affects the decisions you make. It affects how you communicate. And that's everything. That's all we have is our mindset, how we think. It changes our performance, our success, our relationships. It's everything. Mindset for me is everything. And one of my missions is changing the mindset.
Wow, that is just profound. What a profound song. You will find that on TEDxGenius.com. TEDxGenius.com is an array of, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, I would just say profound songs, profound sound. And on their website, they have multiple different speakers. This was Peter Diamandis, and he was speaking on mindset. It's very, very important to understand perspective as well. That actually helps us actually break this down, because that's exactly what we want to understand, how the system is set up, how our system is set up. And in understanding the system, we also touch on the mindset, because the mindset is a combination of different aspects of our being and different experiences and different facts or things that we've contributed to be facts within ourselves. So that was amazing. If you want to check them out, go to tedxgenius.com. All the music is accessible directly from your phone, and they have more than 10 people here: Oprah Winfrey, Napoleon Hill, Bob Proctor, who I'm definitely going to get into because that's one of my teachers. I know Bob. But yes, so now we're going to get into the breakdown. So in today's podcast, we're going to be breaking down understanding the systems of life. But before we even do that, do we know what a system is? Sis, you know what a system is? I was talking to my sister over there. She's not listening. But we're going to break down what a system is right here. I have the definition pulled up with Google. And the definition of a system is a set of things working together as parts of a mechanism or an interconnecting network. So if you understand this, a system is a operation coexisting with multiple different components playing a part within that system. So if you're still not too sure what a system is, let me ask you how you're listening to this podcast right now. Are you utilizing a computer? Are you holding a miniature computer, which is a cell phone, smartphone, an iPhone? Well, that iPhone coexists of components that work together in order to produce the effect of the functionality that it brings you. So what I'm saying is it has a lot of different components. It's a system itself. It has a screen, a front camera, a back camera, a microphone, a home button, touch screen that I mentioned. And then also has a display right underneath the touchscreen. So you can interact with the screen based upon that feature being present. If that component were to not be there, then the system of the cell phone or the smartphone would not be useful. The functionality would not be there because not all the components were in place and making the system work properly. So I know I just broke down a cell phone in like a couple minutes. That's because I work with cell phones. So I do break them down in a couple minutes. But just for you to understand the importance of components. So now that we've broken down a cell phone, I want you to see if you can see other systems in the world or see other systems in your life. Number 2 system I think about is a church. See, a church is not just someone up somewhere speaking about God's word. That's not what just a church is. A church is a totality of different groups playing different roles, because you don't see the pastor organizing the chairs, you know? So that is also a system, different components coexisting, working together to produce a certain outcome, functionality, or result for whatever the purpose of that system is for. So understanding systems means that you need to understand the parts within the arrangement by which these functionalities are being delivered. So for an example, a lot of us, especially if you're in a cold environment, it's November. If you take a shower and you get out the shower, you should be more ashy than usual. I don't know what's up with it, but I be getting out the shower more ashy than usual sometimes. So my solution to that problem is to purchase some shea butter, because shea butter I feel like works great for my skin. This melanin skin, I think it works pretty good with shea butter. So I'll go ahead and purchase some shea butter. But this is another system here, because in order for me to attain a product that would take care of my problem or solve my problem, I would need to engage in a network. And in order for me to engage in this network, I need to find someone who has what I need, and then I have to figure out what they need. So this is another system, which we can break it down and say it's commerce or buying and selling goods and services. We could use words of that nature to explain that. And in that process, we know that the goods and services that we are buying or that we're engaging to obtain, someone else has. So that's the organization of the system. I'm a buyer, and then there's a seller. So in this moment, I'm buying shea butter for probably the 100th time in my life, let's say. So I'm pretty sure in 2 months from now, I'm going to be buying some shea butter. Why? Because 2 months ago, I was buying some shea butter. So if I was really passionate about shea butter, I would be interested in considering buying more shea butter. Because if I'm buying shea butter, then someone else in the world is buying shea butter. Because I feel like I'm like a lot of people, even though I'm a lot different from a lot of people. I feel that we all have this similar uniqueness individually. You know what I'm talking about? So, if I have an interest in shea butter, I'm very certain someone else in the world has an interest. So if I were to buy a bulk amount of shea butter, I would be maneuvering myself towards the other side of the system that I started off with at the beginning. Because as I just buy one bottle of shea butter every day, or sorry, not every day, every month, I'm just spending, let's say, $10 a month on shea butter. And if I were to buy them in bulk, let's say I got 12 bottles of shea butter, I might be able to get those 12 bottles of shea butter for maybe $70, which would be counter to that $120 that I would be spending if I were to buy it every single month. So when you understand the system of commerce, you get the knowledge to know how to position yourself within the system, because that's a way that you're able to change your experience within the system. Because like I was explaining to you, each and every single time there's a system, there's a functionality the system is delivering, there's an outcome or a result that is expected. So in the sense of me buying the shea butter, there has to be a place for me to buy the shea butter. If you look back in time, you'll see that in countries, or even if you just go to Africa right now and go to a village, there's a location for the marketplace, a geographical location. We meet here, not down the street, not up the alley, right here. And the reason why we meet right here is because everybody is able to get right here, right now, while we're here. But it's not every day. So the market might be on Wednesdays all day, but it's only on Wednesdays. So if you miss the market on Wednesdays and you're in the wrong village at that time, you're going to be hungry. Or you better be looking at some trees to see what they got for you, because at least that's how it pops over there. But what I'm explaining is the system. In older times, to exchange meant that you had to be at the same locational place at a specific time, or else you are not part of whatever was going on. At this present day, we have digital marketplaces where you are always right next to the marketplace. The marketplace is a reach away. The marketplace is a tap away. The marketplace is a swipe away. Literally on your phone. So with that being said, the ability for you to join the system in a way that benefits you is more available today than it has ever been, ever, forever, since as far as we know. Because unless you had some horses and a carriage or a car or some, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to be able to carry your goods. And then you have to go get the goods. But guess what? You can get goods with the smartphone. So you can swipe away to get the goods, swipe away to sell the goods. I don't understand why we don't understand this system. But let's get on point. So now that we understand the commerce system, I hope that I was able to give you that breakdown in a healthy manner so that you can articulate it correctly. Basically, in each and every situation and scenario, you are either on one end of the system at a time. You're either being a consumer or you're being a producer in the mindset and the decisions that you're making. So, for example, right here, I'm gonna let you guys know right now that if you jump onto YouTube, you'll see a recording of this podcast, and you'll be able to get a visual clarity of exactly what I'm explaining, because you'll see my body gestures and my hand motions and things. But here I have a MacBook Pro, and this MacBook Pro was not purchased directly from the Apple Store, because I found out for myself that for me personally, with the understanding that I have about electronics, I don't need to pay retail for something like this, because I would probably prefer to buy more than one to resell them, or I would just prefer to get a better deal on a used one that I could refurbish myself if need be. But that's because I understand this system. So what system do you understand? A lot of you out there might understand the system of barbering. You might understand the system, the tools within that system to make that system operate. So how are you going to use your knowledge about that system to position yourself within the commerce system, which is pretty much every client or every human being on the planet or within your area. Well, yeah, definitely within your area if you're barbering. But And how are you going to position yourself at the opposite end of the system that you've been on for the longest of times? And I found it most easy to understand the system aspect with my own talents, my own gifts, the own things that I'm interested in, the things that have my interest. I don't really want to figure out the system of sewing right now, although I feel at one point in time it might be cool to make some shoes, you know what I'm saying? But that's not my system. Someone else's, that's their system right now. So I would not say because, you know, this man who sews or this woman who sews can do everything I can do because we have the same hands. Well, we don't understand the same systems. So right now, I prefer she do my shirt, and she probably prefer I fix her iPhone screen. You know, you understand what I'm saying? She doesn't want to jump right into that. You know, I definitely want to jump right into that. So it's just about the systems that your mind has already been prepared before you arrived here to understand. And you'll understand how to find those things just from observing yourself. So you need to spend some time on self-reflection to understand some things that were said to you as a child. And some of these things are hints, notices, pinpoints, directions, checkpoints, something that lets you know how to see an experience. So for example, for me, I know my parents used to be very upset with me around the holiday of Christmas time because when I was a kid, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, somewhere around there, I would I don't know how, but I would somehow disassemble or break the toys. Like toys wouldn't work no more. Like it didn't matter if they were electronics or never electronics or just, you know, plastic. I don't know. I would do something and it just wouldn't be what it's supposed to be, and nobody could play with that toy no more. So I see myself in myself forever because now I can understand my character, also understand my astrology. I can understand my character and see a little bit more about how I know systems. See, when we talk about break down, that's what I'm doing right now in this podcast. I'm using the light power coming through me right now to break down the concept of systems. But I was already breaking down stuff when I was a kid. I was already breaking down stuff in the other room over here fixing an iPhone 7 Plus. And, you know, that's a characteristic of me. Another characteristic of another person could be aesthetically dressing a place, a house. She could be someone who designs the entire layout of the furniture to create a certain type of feel in the atmosphere. That's a different type of system understanding. They call it feng shui. Well, I know it by a name, feng shui. I'm sure there's other names. But now that I've given you a couple different understandings about systems, let's talk about the grand system. Let's talk about the system of nature, which we are all part of. Okay? This system of nature, I've come to understand, is the most amazing system. It works consistently. It doesn't need human intervention, and it's beautiful by itself. Some aspect of the system that I can share with you, for example, is the seasons, change of seasons. They report that there's 90 days in each season scientifically, but we arrive at 365 days, which would mean that if you do your math correctly, we got 5 extra days. But they don't really explain how those days are not the same. You know, those numbers of days are not the same if we have 9 days in each season. So if you understand that we have a Gregorian calendar, which is not actually being transparent, as there are adjustments and alterations to the months and the days of particular months, including February, you can see that they can somehow cook up 5. I don't know. Not right now at this point, but that's just an area of observation that's really cloudy. But when you understand that there's 90 days in each season, then you know that as the seasons change, there's something changing within the earth itself as its own entity, because the earth is alive. That's how we are able to access this energy of thought, electricity from the sun. This is an entire running system by a designer. And in this part of the system that I'm explaining with the 90 days, you can see that we move from summer to fall, to winter, to spring, to summer. And from fall to winter those 90 days equals 180 days. So it's kind of like the earth is exhaling through those days by the essence of releasing energy. What is releasing energy? Well, energy's what is energy? Well, this energy that I'm talking about is actually showing up as the sunlight, which is electromagnetic rays. So that energy is loosening because the temperature in the area is becoming colder, because I don't even know why the temperature is getting colder. I think it's based upon your location on the earth and the closeness that you are to the equator, because a place like Ghana or Africa does not get cold around the winter. They don't experience snow. But the farther you are from the equator, you can experience those types of changes further into the year. So what I'm explaining is that the earth itself moves on a system. Though it's a cosmic system, it's not a time-based system with 24 hours like we have designed it to replicate. It's deeper than that, because without us counting the seconds, it was still moving without us counting the seconds. So it's larger than the time itself. So when you understand that the sun presents itself more in areas further from the equator, let's say in Maryland or at DC, you can get more energy because the earth is at this inhale process, which is now intaking energy. And that's why we have the foliage on the trees. That's why plants grow, because there's more energy being present. So this is just understanding the system by which the Creator has designed for us to be able to habituate or live on this planet Earth. I think it's just a grand system. I think it's phenomenal. And exactly. So what is it I want to share? The system part, right, is all about placing yourself on the right part of the system. That's the main key that I want you to understand about this podcast episode. I want you to get the clarity to choose to be on the right part, the right side of this system, because in every single system, there's an intended result or outcome. And from the results that you're experiencing, you can see if the system that you're operating in is working or not. For example, back to that shea butter experience, if I were to spend $120 a month on shea butter, and I know I'm going to buy some more shea butter because it's the best brand shea butter, and I also know that I can get at a discount if I purchase it ahead of time, putting myself on the right end of the system, then I'm making a benefit for my individual self. So that benefit that I make for myself, being as an experience or a testimonial, could actually make someone else's experience better as well. So you're actually never just bettering yourself if you know that your experiences are not for you. You're always in bettering others by sharing what you've learned to better yourself. So I would share with someone else who's buying something on a consistent basis and they know they can still buy it. They should stock up on it in a way that they can benefit from having it. So then that takes us into the marketplace, because if I was able to order this from my phone, I should be able to sell this from my phone. If it's already going to be in my house, then it can already be at the post office if I drive 10 minutes. So that means I could be selling the same thing that I consume, meaning that I'm moving myself from the consumer to the producer. And in that same way, right now, as I explain, the organization of the planet Earth, you want to know what side of the planet Earth that you're on right now, because you are a living, breathing TV station. Every single place that you go, everything that you say, everything that you do, everything that you promote speaks on behalf of who you are. So with that being said, which part of the system are you on right now? Are you promoting the earth? Are you promoting wellness? Are you promoting destruction? Are you promoting confusion? And sometimes it's a little difficult to know whether you're doing these things until you kind of critique and do like a not cause and effect. You want to do like you want to pretty much understand how you've developed and how you've grown to who you are today. And if you're okay with that person, of course, we all have things that we want to change, update, improve. But when I say that, I mean it from the basis of knowing what you're contributing to. For example, I wrote a blog post on 11 ways to improve your vibration. And one of those 11 ways were to dismiss TV consumption. And the reason for that is because having cable at this time is pretty much having a streamlined host of negative energy streaming into your house, streaming directly into your home. And I say that because the commercials, I say that because the television shows, I say that because the perspective by which the television shows are produced, which is an idea in itself. So if you see something being done or you see something happening, you can more easily visualize it because you've already tasted the Kool-Aid. You know that it was strawberry. You can kind of imagine the flavor again, that kind of thing. But it's more like you've seen this, you know it now, and your mind could cook it if you decided to, because you know how to make, you know those ingredients. You might think that that's like not really important, but it's extremely important for children. It's extremely important for the youth, because if they're exposed to images and content that explains or shows characters that are not, I would use the term godly or not respectable, then they are not going to be pretty much being fed goodness from that television that's actually streamlining negative content into their brain and programming their subconscious mind to behave in what they've seen. So for example, reality TV shows showing I mean, people watch them for whatever reasons, but just as an example, a child watching a fight in a reality TV show sitting next to their mom, number one, makes them think that what they're watching is good because mom is right next to me. And then number two is what I'm seeing is good because mom is watching it. So that's going to go in the mind as good. So if they see discontent, if they see people on discord, they're going to not find their problems with that. They're not going to see that that's anything to do something about. They're not going to see or feel or know that there's somewhere to step in right now, and it's right into the situation, because this is a good thing. So programming of the subconscious mind is very important, and that happens through imagery, and that happens through the television. So how can you put yourself on the better side of that system? The better side of that system is to not watch TV, because it actually deters the mental psyche and it removes clarity by involving other concepts such as gluttony. There's just so many things like gluttony, lust, and I'm not like downplaying movies or anything. Movies are great, but I'm just talking about how things are presented and not understanding perspective. Because if you see something on TV and you don't understand that this is being shown to me in a particular way for a particular purpose, then you take it to be true because you've seen it on TV. It's public. They're airing it. Then if you go to watch a movie or a television show and you have a daughter with locks and she just watches these TV shows, she might not see nobody with locks on TV. What does that say to the subconscious mind? What does that say to the psyche? That tells the psyche that how you look is different from everybody in the world. And there's a reason why nobody want to look like that. That says more than it says without saying. They say an image is worth 1,000 words. How about a video? You understand? So this is understanding how to put yourself on the right side of the system. All systems. You have to become the sovereign being in developing your own systems that actually promote and push essence of truth and divinity, godliness, respect, responsibility, authenticity, and things of this nature. Because that, number one, shows other people that this is a system worth creating because other people are creating it. Look at the impact. Look at what is being done. That also says thinking on an intellectual way, or thinking in an intellectual way, and articulating thoughts that are from a sound mind are respectable, honorable, and things of that nature. This is promoting the culture. This is promoting what we are born to do. This is promoting what we're here to do as individuals, here as a collective. So with that being said, this breakdown was brought to you by Powr. And you can find us on Instagram at Powr, LIGHTPOWR. This podcast episode is actually going to be recorded and available to you on YouTube, and from there you will be able to